Hey there, I'm Kane Rains, and welcome to my basement. You know, this month was supposed to be anime themed, but I think I might have messed it up, and it might just not be worth continuing. After all, I didn't introduce it last week, and for some reason in my head I thought July anime, when I was playing with it on a piece of paper, would actually sound good out loud. It doesn't. So I just kind of think that maybe anime might have been a mistake. What do you think, Shadow the Hedgehog?
First, anime is a highly respected form of art. It was not a mistake. Second, I like the one with the edgy girl and the scissor blade.
I see. Well, in that case, I do have this Ryuko Matoi Buzzmod action figure we could look at.
Fine by me.
So, like I said, this is the Ryuko Matoi Buzzmod figure from Kill la Kill. I watched Kill la Kill when it was new, and when this figure was announced or re-released, maybe? I know there was an older one that was like this, but I really had to think about it when it went on pre-order, about whether or not I really needed it or not. And luckily, towards the end of its pre-order period, I got a series of commissions that more or less paid for it. And that's kind of what let me pull the trigger on it. That is generally what I have. I'm not relying on the commissions, but I always appreciate them. But yeah, if it's this was on the higher end of what I'm willing to spend on a toy. That's not like a really big Lego set. So I think it's going to be good. Buzzmod's a good company from what I understand. But let's take her out, take a look at all the accessories and different versions she's got, or different parts she's got, and then see how Shadow feels about it then. Okay? Okay. All right, so here Ryuko is out of her box, standing tall as a little rebel like her would. So she's she's about what I expected when I saw pictures of her. And it's if you want a Ryuko action figure that gets the anime style pretty well, this would appear to be a really good option. As far as posability goes, a lot of her joints are, oh well, I was gonna get to that in a minute. So some of her joints I think are actually a little too what's the word I'm looking for? A little too positionable. That's probably not the right phrasing, but like you can go, like it's really easy to manipulate her positions of pretty much all of her joints. Knees, ankles. In fact, she's basically got two ankles because she's got one in the boot and then, or her tennis shoe, and then the shoe itself. So, I mean, I know that will greatly help with posability, but I don't know, it's a little disconcerting in some ways. And then also the toe of her shoe also positions like a foot would. I don't know if this is just mine, but her right foot on mine, the toe doesn't want to go, kind of like some of the NECA trouble, so I'll have to heat that up probably. But beyond that, like I said, like you can make this wrist go just about any direction you want. And like that's not how arms are supposed to look. And I get the freedom of it is better than being held back by some arbitrary decision, but I don't know. I think there might be a limit. Also, her skirt is actually cloth, which I didn't realize when I got it. Everything else is hard plastic, or well, I guess you'd probably count her jacket as soft plastic. It's not super soft, but it's not hard like the rest of her limbs. But even with that on, like her torso still has a bit of maneuverability. And like I said, because it's a thick fabric, because it is fabric, the skirt doesn't hold back her movement too much. It's just what you'd expect, really. I've seen figures with skirts or loincloths or whatever where or Marge over there, where the skirt, the legs or covering, whatever you want to call it, keeps them from really moving the way they should. And this, I don't have that issue with. So it's about what you expect. So as far as posability, maneuverability goes, really right off the bat, outside of what might be just a really small issue just for me with this one toe, when I can see how it works for the other one, like if you want to pose this figure, you're gonna be able to pose this figure. But like I said, I'm pretty sure Buzzmod has a really good not responsibility, reputation when it comes to this kind of stuff, which is also why she's fairly expensive compared to other stuff. But with all that said, let's see how her, accessories and such come into play. Because she does have a couple. Some are what you'd expect from like alternate body parts, and some are actual accessories. So we'll just zoom out to get a better look at some of those. First off, she does have 3 alternate faces. We've got a yelling, angry face, which is, captures that expression pretty well. We've got kind of just a flustered, angry. She's even, I don't know how well, it doesn't really look like it's coming through well, but she's got a little blush there. So this could be embarrassed too. Early on in the series, her whole gimmick with Senketsu was kind of embarrassing for her, so I guess that's what that's from. And then a really happy face where she's grinning, eyes closed, that kind of bit. And those are all good. They all capture those anime-like expressions pretty well. She's also got a completely alternate body, so that if you don't want to have the jacket on, you can just pull her torso off there, pull her head off like that, and then replace it. And I will probably, physics be physics, and get in there, get in the hole, it's your home, don't be too good for your home. There we go. And then you just slide it on like that. And I think I'll leave the jacket off. The sleeves, I'm glad it's there. I'm glad it's an option, but it's not really for me, which of course then means you need to replace the hands. And we could just replace the hands with the same tight fists that she defaults with, but we also have an alternate set. And I really like these hand holders. We don't see them very often. I think this is only the second figure we've looked at that's had them. So it's the same for both hands. So you get a total of 10 hands, 5 for each side. And of course she wears the glove on the left, so the left hands have the glove and the right hands don't. But in addition to the tight fists that we saw a second ago, we've got a completely open hand, what I'm going to call like a waving open hand, her scissor blade holding hand, and then a slightly less tight fist. So it's still a fist, but it's not as tightly closed. I don't know how necessary that was. I kind of feel like they've got this thing, which is in sets of 2. So they're like, well, let's just give her a slightly different fist. But I think what I'm going to do for now, to help show one of the next accessories, is I'll grab her, if it wants to come off, there we go. I'll grab the sword holding hand, which means I need to grab her bracelet. It's probably not considered a bracelet since it's part of the glove. If you're not aware, she uses it. It's got this little part that sticks out, and that's what she uses to cut into herself to feed her living school uniform. But if you haven't seen Kill la Kill, it's a trip. And then what other hand? Probably the relaxed open hand for now. I'll decide later if I want something different, but I think that's a good default. But with that, we've completely altered this Ryuko. And I could change her face. That just pop off the head and slide the face out, and then slide the alternate in. It involves taking her hair off and such, which I'll show you part of. I don't feel like changing her face, but you just, there we go. So I could take the face off, slide the new one on, and then slide the hair on. It's kind of like a Nendoroid like that, where you, for a lot of Nendoroids, you need to take the hair off or whatever headwear they're wearing before you can change out whatever face they've got. So that's the hands and, to a lesser degree, the faces. Now let's look at her bigger accessories. So the first thing we've got is her carrying case. It's kind of like the sheath for her scissor blade. And if this opens, I cannot figure out how. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. It doesn't show it opening on the packaging. And I don't remember seeing any pictures of it. It's just, I think it's a really good mold, so it looks like it should. But there's no joints on the side that would open, and the only thing that I could see moving would be this bit here. So I think I just kind of got my hopes up but when I was taking it out of the pack. But with that, you just slide it over her if you want her to be having it. And she had that for a good chunk of the series, if memory recalls. I haven't watched it in a long time, but yeah, it just slides on. It does make her a little more top heavy, obviously, so you would need to play with her pose if you were going to have that on there. Something like that. There we go. So, you know, it's neat. And it's actually got a little bit of heft to it. Like, that's why you have to make sure her pose is different for it. Different while she's wearing it. Because, yeah, it is I mean, it's not super heavy, but it's almost, well, it's probably at least as half as much as she weighs. Maybe more than that. Probably not more than she weighs, but whatever. So it's just a nice accessory to have. I do wish the strap clipped in a little more tightly. Like, I'm glad it's not too hard to take out because the strap stores separately in the box from the case itself. But as you saw a second ago, it's not too hard to just have it catch on something and pull off. And that might have been the intent, so that if while you're moving it, it gets caught, it doesn't break something. But I don't know. It's neat, but it's not like my favorite part of this by any means. Finally, we've got her scissor blade, and while it's two different ones, it's actually, well, it's two different molds. It's the same scissor. So in the show, there was a specific one that she had from near the beginning, and later on she could open it up. So this is the default mode, and then it would extend so that you can kind of see part of it. This bit would open to be this bit, and then there would just, like, I don't know if like the physics would allow this part to open up, but it would slide out like that if memory serves. And then there was a second one that would actually function as scissors, but in this case you pick one or the other, and they probably did that so that because if they made this big enough to actually unfold all the way, she probably wouldn't be able to hold it. So I get it, but I don't know, I probably would have just chosen to have one scissor blade at that point, because the open version I only associate with her transformed form, and that's not where her living uniform turns into her magic girl outfit, which is, putting it really simply, and don't look it up if you're not into not comfortable with certain mature things, I guess. But anyway, anime is gonna anime, yo. I prefer the closed version for this outfit, and while, like I showed you a minute ago, she's got gripping hands for both sides, I think I'm going to keep it original and just slide it in there. It's not as tight a grip as I would like, but it's not bad either. Like, I wouldn't expect her to just drop this without, yeah, as you can see, it took a fair hit there to get it loose. So if you're just posing her, it's tight enough to get a good look with, but it's not so tight that you're going to struggle with it. Like, we've seen some action figures here on the channel where just getting their weapon or their accessory into their hands was, I mean, you had to fight for it. And there's been times where I've thought, oh, I'm going to break this toy trying to use it the way it's intended. And I don't think that should be something that happens with any toys, much less one of this cost. So I think it's good that it's a little bit less tight than you'd expect. So overall, there is the Ryuko figure. While I would have liked it to be a little cheaper than it was, and you know, there's ways they could have done that. They could have dropped the open scissor blade and maybe decided just to have one torso or the other. While I'm glad they have both, like, I'm sure that wasn't a cheap addition to have like an extra third of a character involved. And then like the only other thing is, like, why have two sets of fists? I'm sure someone somewhere can tell me why it's a good thing to have the extra fists, and they are slightly different, so I know it's not like cheap that they did it that way, but I don't know, it doesn't, that part doesn't seem real necessary for me either. But you know, that's just me. So on the whole, I think this is a pretty good figure. I'm pretty happy with it. If this was the type of thing that I thought would ever go on sale, I would have tried to wait for it, but I really, really doubt you're ever going to find this any less than its initial cost. And you know, that's what it is. In fact, I figure if you find it out in the wild outside of a website, then it's probably going to be marked up a fair bit. So that's what that is. Shadow, you do not make it easy for me to pose stuff with you. I was going to have them, well, there we go. Vroom. But anyway, we'll put her on the shelf in a second. I like with the Miku video from last week, I'm gonna just go over the Shadow thing real quick. And I didn't just include him because I knew about that soundbite from the Twitter takeover, but I'm gonna do a Sonic month later this year where I look at a bunch of stuff, and so trying to add in a couple more now just to lighten up that video a bit. I don't know, it felt like the thing to do. Plus, I did have that soundbite, and why not use it if I got it? So this is just the Shadow Jakks Pacific figure, 4-inch scale. And just like with the Sonic one, I think it's fine. I prefer the 4-inch scale to the 5-inch scale for the Mobians, which I've said before. For Eggman and the other big characters, 5-inch scale is fine, but 4-inch is better for these guys. Now, I know it kind of kills some of the maneuverability, like with Sonic, he doesn't have elbow joints, and his ankle joints are not too great either. They're good enough, and his other joints are fine. They could be better. I know on the 5-inch scale figures they did for the movie and for Sonic Prime, they were a little more detailed and had the elbow joints and whatnot. But for this one, I'm fine with it. Now, if I was like trying to do poses for a stop motion video or something, that'd be a different story, and I'd probably like the 5-inch scale figures better for that, but they also would be way too tall for towards the other figures that I've got. So I'm gonna stick with the 5-inch. And plus, it just scales better for me. 4-inch for the Mobians scales better for me. So that's the main bonus review of the black-haired / spined with red streak character for this video. I will just toss out here what this motorcycle is, because I've had people ask me before, like on Reddit and whatnot, when I first got it. And this is the 2014 Harley Davidson Sportster Iron 883 by Masto, which is on license plate, so Maisto probably. I don't know. I grabbed this one when I found it because it's closer to what Shadow had in the earliest incarnations of it's not meant for a hedgehog to ride it, but the earliest incarnations of his motorcycle. The newer one that he rides is way too big and clunky for me, and I thought that on his Lego set, the Shadow Escape Lego set, which I might do a mini review of at some point, but it's a little whatever. Especially since even in Lego, there's a red and black motorcycle that already existed that's more like this one, and instead they gave this overbuilt contraption. Yeah, I had it in a good position before, but now I don't know. I'll have to refigure out how I had it standing before. Might also be because, once again, this spinny majig is a little curved towards the center. But yeah, so I did kind of want to have them sharing the motorcycle, but Shadow's quills are so big that I don't know how well that's going to work in the long run. Might help steady the motorcycle some. Not really. Anyway, though, so Shadow's fine. He's what you expect from a $10 figure. The motorcycle's good enough. It's I wouldn't have gotten it myself if it weren't for Shadow riding a motorcycle, and even then, not all the time. But I like this figure. Again, I wish it was cheaper, but I've seen what constitutes cheap figures of this character, and not only are they not that cheap, but they're pretty low quality IMO. So as far as the Buzzmod goes, I like it. If you found it and you can afford it without going into debt, great. Like I said, I managed to get some commissions done and save up to make sure that it wouldn't hit me in the pocketbook, which is always the Caden Rain suggestion, is sales and savings. But not like, don't go into your savings for an action figure or whatever. Save an alternate amount for that, so that if something else happens in your real life, you'll be good. So anyway, I don't like the way her arm is there. So anyway, I'm gonna find a place for them on the shelf. This will be temporary because the section I want to have the Sonic stuff go is not ready yet. And I don't know if Ryuko is gonna stay where I'm gonna put her today, but let's see how she looks compared to some other figures besides Shadow, and then call it a day. All right. So back in the sewer lair, I have added Ryuko to the ladder along with April as they come down to enjoy the ongoing party that never ends down here. I thought about sticking her with Raphael and Knives, get a black hair with red streak thing going with Raphael for some reason. I just thought that'd be amusing to me, but for now Ryuko is just joining the crew, and I might put her somewhere else. I think it kind of makes sense for April to be coming down the ladder perpetually, since she's always coming and going from the turtle lair and for one thing or another. But for Ryuko, I'm good with where she is for now. I might change her face out later. She's still got her smug look on her right now, which is fine. But if I put her in a different place on the display, then I'll probably need to change out what expression she's using. Probably that happy one. But yeah. So let me know down below if you've got the Ryuko Kill a Kill Buzzmod figure. It's always such a handful to try and get all the stuff out. But if you do, let me know if you like her or not, if you think that's a good figure. And I did note some of the flaws, like how flexible or maneuverable some of her stuff are, which doesn't seem like a flaw. But when it's easy to knock off her hands because they just go in every direction, that is a little bit much. But so if you've got her, let me know how you feel about her. If you don't, let me know if this review made you wish you had her or glad you never pulled the trigger. And if you're not familiar with Kill la Kill, that's a whole kit and caboodle right there. Whether or not I can recommend that. If you're a big anime person, great, go for it. If you're not, that's definitely not where I would have you start. That's kind of all I'll say about Kill la Kill. I watched it and I don't have any problems with it, but I also wouldn't tell my mom to watch it. And there have been anime that I've suggested to her back when I was watching it more. So, take that as you will as well. But regardless, either way, I hope you had a good time in my basement today, and I'll see you in the next one.